I'm super excited to be with Electroblaze, Michael Blazer, here today and to interview him. Actually, he is a person that I've met that is constantly creating, constantly connecting with others. Every time he's either on the move from Ibiza or somewhere to somewhere else, which is very interesting, very exciting. And he's such a bubbly person and a great producer, songwriter. You're a label owner and more things such as investor and gastronomy. There's so many aspects and so many levels of creativity and involvement by you. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with you about creativity and your story and everything. So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. The pleasure to be here and to talk about my life and creative
Yes.
things. Yeah,
You have
good.
quite
Thank you.
quite a few releases as well lately and more to come. And so I guess my first thing is like, how did the music journey start for you?
So the music starts really early in my life. So I had a musical education as a young baby from my parents, and my mother pushed me into a children choir, and I started singing. And then I was getting older and too cool for the choir, and I was starting to rap, and I was doing a hip hop for about 10, 12, 13 years, and really was recording lots of tracks and songs, was doing generally 3 albums and the EP and the compilation with some friends. So was writing and recording about maybe 150 hip hop songs in the
Wow.
age from 13 till 23 or something like that. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. So
Mm.
yeah, it started for you really early and you went into rapping. Like, how was that for you?
That was a great way to express myself and to get out of the house of my parents and into the city, and love to spend time on freestyle sessions and into the studio. And I was just into the writing. So I was, when I was laying down in my bed as a young child, I could not sleep before I was not writing down these ideas or these rhymes
Mm.
in my head. I'm mostly or often late in school these days, but I had some good rhymes in the morning. It was great then. It was really
Priorities.
like an addiction. Yeah, I had this the things in my head rotating, and I needed to write it down. So that's to
Mm.
find my peace and find some sleep then.
How is rapping? How is that still playing a role, if at all, nowadays with the music that you make now?
It still plays a role that I'm still related. I love the golden era and the old school hip hop. So I'm not so into the new stuff. My opinion, most of it is far away from the hip hop that I was used to and making. And I still have rhymes and things in my head. So this is also a thing that's still happens. And I write a lot of my lyrics, or the most of the lyrics I write by myself, or mostly I'm able to also record it with my own voice and stuff. So lots of releases
Mm.
and things I do is recorded by myself and with my voice. And this is still a good thing that kept from these times. Yeah.
Yes, oh, wonderful. What are some of those things that you rap about? Or what's the main things, topics?
Mm, so when I was young, it was more a bit like um, the battle rap thing, because I was a lot into the freestyling. And when I get older, it was more like really social criticism songs and lyrics, and always was trying to actually make this what hip hop makes big and at the beginning. So to tell stories about the life surrounding. And at the end, there was really a bit of political themes also, and social stuff, and happening in Germany and my life and my and yeah, my
Yeah.
near so. And
So when
when
so
hip hop
sorry, go on. Yeah.
when hip hop gets more into the battle gangster rap part, because this was not my kind of style. It was battle rap in a kind of like early in the freestyle sessions, but it was not this kind of gangster rap. And when hip hop turned this way, so for me, I felt it's time to stop
Mm.
this then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So the imagine you are a kid in bed thinking about what's on your mind and you putting that into your raps. Was it things that concerned you that you thought about on in the day and then became a rap, or how did those? words that you ended up creating. Yeah.
Yeah, that happens from time to time, or stuff that happened to me, and then I turn it into lyrics and rap parts from
Mm.
things like girlfriends, ex-girlfriends, hustling, play basketball, all kind of stuff. Found the way then into the lyrics,
Yeah.
and I was always trying to do positive music and positive things. Time was not easy for me these days, and also the music and everything was getting more aggressive, and the people stopped laughing and
Hmm.
smiling in hip hop. So there was a point in the history of hip hop where the people stopped smiling and doing it for fun. So it was also, you have to look like this and
Hmm.
be the cool guy. So without laughing and no dancing, he's a cool guy in the corner. And this was a thing that I didn't like then when I
Yeah.
grew up and a bit wiser. So I'm trying to stay
Yeah.
positive and focused.
When it started to not feel good anymore and not feel fun anymore. Yeah. Yeah. When was that? Like around what year?
That was around 2004, 2000, no,
Mm-hmm.
earlier,
Mm-hmm.
98, 99, before the millennium.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what did you start doing then instead?
I was pushed into training and studying hotel business, and I was focusing on getting a bartender, a good one, and I wanted to get out. I made a 3-year study of hotel management and school. And then I was sick of my city and of Germany, and I wanted to get out of the country and far away from my parents and problems, and wanted to make a new start, a restart. So I went to Mallorca to work with 23 years, I think. Never was on the island before, had no expectations. I just wrote to some hotels, the agrotourismus or small fincas. And yeah, I got a job. I flew to Mallorca and this changed my life. And also I stuck with the music then for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But also in Mallorca, I had the first contacts to really good electronic music, especially minimal.
Mm-hmm.
Minimal electro was quite big these days. And that was a great honor to be to go to Mallorca. And in this area, I was in the Tramontana Mountains and yeah, in Valdemossa, where lots of artists, old hip hop, the old hippie kind of people
Yeah.
were living. That was great for me and it changed my life totally.
Yeah. Tell me more about how it changed your life.
So I really started there to focus on being a good person and positive thinking person. And I was more into focused on what I do to bring it to a much better level and yeah, just turn from this cool hip hop guy to a nice, always smiling, friendly person, I think.
Yes. So do you feel that before you weren't positive, or what was the difference in mindset that happened?
It was more the surrounding
Mhm.
around me that makes me feel like in a depression way. So
Mhm.
I was really a lot of things in my head and problems with my parents. They divorced these times and before, and I was not happy with my parents. My parents, how can I say this, helped me or pushed me with my music career because that's what I always wanted to do when I was starting this hip hop and into it. And I had actually no support from my parents. Actually, was the difference, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I want to get free of this environment and all these struggles and problems. And yeah, it was a bit of freedom then for me. And then this also changed my thinking and the way I live.
Yes, yes. The impact the environment has on you is immense, right? So it feels like, yeah, it's created an instant change, almost instant. I don't know how instant, but it feels like
Yeah,
from what you're sharing that it allowed you to be free and probably develop into who you wanted to feel and experience who you are.
and if you hang around with people, they're negative and into depressions. So it really is not good for involving yourself. So it's
Mm. Mm.
also a bit of making myself free of hanging with the wrong people.
Mm. Yeah. And was it
And
an easy or a hard decision to almost do that change or that
no,
jump?
it was really easy actually. It was really easy, and I had the luck, and I'm really I would say, really happy about this place where I went then to Mallorca, because it was so friendly, so cool, so artistic, so hippie kind of vibes. And yeah, it saved my life in a kind of way.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. So what happened after? So you've gone there, and then let's look at the time from then till now. How has Michael or Electroblaze developed from that point?
Yeah, I developed and I found out for myself that I definitely don't want to go back to my hometown in
Mm.
Germany.
Mm.
And from Mallorca on, so I was looking in a bigger city space for a job and specialize myself as bartender on bartending and mixology. And I was really good at that. So I moved to Hamburg spontaneously. Also,
Mm.
was never before in Hamburg. Just looked for. Then moved to Hamburg and spent 5.5 years in Hamburg and had a great time. And yeah, I was not doing the hip hop anymore, but I was going on the first electronic parties and dance and felt more and more into love with electronic music.
Mm.
And in the end, then before I left, I started to produce actually,
Yes.
or I was getting interested into it after 6 years break of doing music.
Yeah.
I had the feeling to create something. So I had the creativity was coming back from the hip hop days, and I felt that I have to create music.
Mm.
So and it was really not good at the beginning. Like no one is doing good music at the beginning. So,
The process.
but it was really helpful, and yeah, really felt in love, and I wanted to make some creative and do something.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. With that newfound inspiration, new mindset, new experiences, you've gone back to music. And so when was that? What year was that? Or how long ago?
It was 2001 till 2006.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, early 2000s. So 2006 is when you started again, and the 1 till 6 was the break that you had, yeah?
Yeah, I would say I was starting with the music before I left Hamburg, so around 2005, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, what did that experience give you to start again in that time?
I have no idea. I just had the feeling in my mind, and then I heard the music, and I said, "Hey, you can try to do this also." And I felt that I have to do something creative, and I wanted to produce something,
Mhm.
and just started for fun with the cheapest software
Yes.
was on the market. I think it was a bit in Cubase, but the very, very early first version of Fruity Loops
Right.
was really super simple, but it was cool and it
Yeah.
was so fun. Yeah, I sticked on it and I started to watch tutorials, master classes, how to produce, to get better involved, and
Mm.
started more and more time
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about where you are now with your music.
I'm pretty good with my music, I think.
Yes.
Especially this year, we know on Ibiza, we get together or found each other on Ibiza on the producer retreats, and my music was quite good. I founded my own label 3 years ago, and I had plenty of releases on my label and some others. And this year in Ibiza and all the other places I went, I was traveling a lot,
Mm.
brought me on a level that is actually, I don't know, it's involved again, so it's pretty good level. I don't know how to say it. So I'm made the last steps, I think, to
Mm.
to to make and release music who makes a difference, or
Yeah.
who could on top of the hundreds
Yeah,
top 100 charts
for
everywhere else,
sure.
and is we're playing it all over the world. So this is yeah, this is 2024, big
Yes.
year work. I quit my job. So it was on December, it was the last time I was doing gastro and bartending. I was a bar chef before, and I was doing some booking for a club venue in my city. And yeah, end of the year, I decided to quit and go fully into the music. And this was a good and important step, and it works out totally
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Beautiful. What do you think might be your biggest learning or that you've had within this last year for yourself that's that you're taken away?
Don't make things too complicated.
Ah, okay.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
And another one from a good mentor and friend is think outside the box.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are very important ones. Actually, I could say that I agree with you also. And so you mentioned the change of environment. Like, how has a change of environment inspired you for creativity?
So I recognize that when I move from a city to another city, I don't know, or from a country or another country, I don't know. So that is it's the best way you can learn. Um, you learn in every directions. If you're going into a new environment and you're finding new friends, you're going out, you're exploring a new city or a new country, it opens your brain. So it's like being awake and with open eyes. And I'm always a people who go front to people and talk. It's very easy for me to find friends, and mostly I find good ones.
Mm.
And every time I moved, it was more like, oh, wow, cool, a new adventure now. I can explore some new cities, cultures, and people, and it was helping me to move in all kind of areas when it
Yeah,
comes to normal to learn, to create, and to be.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
moving is in German it's a wise word. Maybe you can translate it because I don't know how to. It says Veränderung gleich Fortschritt. So change
yeah,
is
yeah.
like evolve.
Yes,
So,
yes, yeah. No,
so
absolutely. Yeah. And so in connection to the aspect of thinking outside the box, and perhaps has that been helpful as well, the change of environment to your learning from this past year?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what does simplicity look like for you as the learning that you mentioned earlier?
Simplicity is so I was always making too much in my music. I put in too much thing in because I thought to make it interesting and to make it working out good on the dance floors or in the radios and music, you need to put a lot of stuff in it. And what I learned this year is that you don't need because it's getting too complicated. So if you have, for example, a project with 20 instruments playing at the same time, so it's a mix of sounds, but
Mm-hmm.
you can't define any specific instrument. It's just too much. And in the simplicity is I was with coaches or mentors or friends showing them my projects, and we going through it. And just okay, delete this instrument, delete this synthesizer, delete this strange sound. You don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also when it comes to arranging and to writing the music. So now it's way easier for me to do good stuff, to make simple things much better
Mm.
and forget about the other things. So you don't need it.
Yes. It's actually a very powerful learning, which I'm learning as well. And I guess one thing that comes to mind is collaboration. How do you work with other artists together, and what happens when you do work together? How is that beneficial or more complicated? I don't know. What's your experience?
No, definitely beneficial, and
Hmm.
definitely it's always a good way to learn from each other. So we never stop to learn. And if you're willing to learn and open to learn from other people, some are not, I am. This is a really big win. And for example, I was on Ibiza with also a friend of both of us.
Mm.
We're producing an old track and we're thinking, let's do a collaboration. What should we do? And I said, so, hey, look to your projects from the last 10 years, pick one out. And he brought one project in. It was one of the first things I think he ever tried to produce. Never finished it. It was crap. But I heard it and I said, so wow, there's some super cool elements and the groove is fantastic. Let's delete half
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
delete half of it and start with these good parts and things. And he is working with a lot of external gear. And I learned a lot from him in this way. And he learned a lot from how I do sound design or I do treat sounds and instruments. And it's not finished yet, but we're on a super good way and it's getting really good.
So cool.
And That was an awesome session, and we both learned that much, and we're looking forward now to have a great track. And in other examples, it's more sending over files or showcasing some projects or things to people, friends, producers, and then exchanging these files. And this is also a really cool part when you get a project from a producer. You see directly what he's doing, and sometimes, wow, he's making these effects or this progression in the music or with this way that I never thought about. So you all learn something new because there are a million ways how you can work on the music with the same goal, but always different ways, and this is always inspiring me.
Yes.
And I don't have, when I start producing, I don't have a straight way or a role. So it's one day I start a project, could be a totally different beginning, how I get onto this. As the next day, and if you work with other people and do the collabs and the remixing, so you really learn a lot from other ways you never thought about.
Yeah. Because my follow-on question would have been like, what's your usual creative process? And you just shared it's always different, but what else
Yeah,
comes to mind?
it's really always different. But what I found out for myself and what's really helpful for me is that I have a really good setup and preparation before I go on a new project. So my Ableton and my setup is really good with the preset. So it's already a kick in on a drum rack, and I can choose different kicks and snares and a hi-hat. So I have the bass, and I can start directly into the creative process. I play in a bass on a synth or instruments. And so this is really good, and tip from my side. So if you don't waste that much time to tweak and start simple things, so sometimes it needs too long to find a way into the actually creativity part, so the creative part. And that's good when you have good preparation for that, and some pieces, and just can start to jam out things done.
Yeah, fantastic.
And how I
It seems since I've known you, what I've noticed is just your desire to learn, to experience. You've gone to a lot of places to learn and develop your skills and to meet people, and you've made extra effort always. So I think that's really inspiring and beautiful. If you look back and let's say 2005 when you started this, did you have a vision to where you wanted to go, or did you just know, oh, I just want to create? How was that for you?
No, I didn't have no vision. It was this time. It was just the feeling that I need to create something. I don't want to hang out and play Xbox or
Yes.
yes. It was just a good spend of my time. So from my side, and I was also after that in the last years, I was in some areas where not that much happens, like in Arosa in Switzerland or on some German islands in the north and east. And it was quite nothing. I was still working as a bartender in hotels and stuff, and mostly was living in a small apartment they give to the staff in maybe 12, 14 square meters, very small, no kitchen, nothing to do, nothing to go out. So I had my music, and I could produce. And I was more this times also in getting a very good bartender. That was more important for me these days, and it was really on it. And yeah, the music was getting more and more then after the years. And I I asked myself then one day why I sell alcohol all the time and why I hang around with people who are mostly addicted to alcohol. And so I had crisis in my head, and I was losing the sense of my bartending job in a kind of
Right.
way. And I was also a bit of stressed and don't want that nightlife thing no more. Working in the bars till 4 or 5, and then mostly go to drink during the work. And so I felt very unhealthy, and I had this on my mind. So then in the end, the point came that I thought, so okay, it's not so cool to doing the alcohol dealer all my life. And the bars late night, and I started to focus more on daytime jobs, also in bartending and gastro. It's possible if you want to. And there was also the time when I started to put more time and effort into the music and the music production.
Yeah. So what year was this? And I always find it interesting. What year was it? What else was happening around that time?
2005 till 2015.
Okay, yeah. So within a period of 10 years?
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah, yeah.
But that morning, or that morning, I don't know what time it was, but that day when you were like reflecting, do I want to do bartending? When was that?
Yeah, it was. So I was back in my hometown city in Wiesbaden near Frankfurt for 2 years after being in Arosa, I think. No, this was not Arosa, Austria, living in Austria in Lermos in a ski area for a season. And then I was back in Germany and had a girlfriend, and I was forced to buy an apartment. We were living there, and after 2 years, we recognized it's not working with us. And I decided spontaneously in 1 week, I quit with my girlfriend. I told her, hey, you can stay in my apartment, no problem. We figure out the rent, but I will move to Berlin next week. And this was a decision I made into 2 weeks. So 1 week
Well,
I quit, and I had still on my mind,
yes.
okay, I got to Berlin now. And with the thing on my mind to actually make studying of sound audio engineering.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
that was on the first thing in my head where I said, okay, this gastro life come to an end and focus on the music. So now let's study audio
Wow.
engineering.
Yeah.
And I went to Berlin directly. The school is quite expensive, and I needed to wait a couple of months before the new year begins with the studio. I was signing in, and I needed to earn some money. And I thought, okay, how can I combine my skills that I already have,
Mm.
cocktails, bars, bar stuff, and
Mm.
gastro, with the thinking of becoming a music artist and a
Mm.
producer.
Mhm.
So in Berlin, what you do, you start to work in the club scene. Going then was a really big win. I started to work at Club the Visionaries and their second venue, Hoppetos, and a bit later also at Griessmühle, what is now RSO.
Mhm.
It's called earlier they called it the little sister of Berghain.
Wow.
And,
Yes.
and and then I met so many DJs and so many producers, and I was so into the electronic music scene. I was 5 to 6 days a week into the club, and I was working in the clubs in the bar at the music. Then afterwards, the other bartenders from the thing. So you get guest lists everywhere easily in Berlin, and you hang around in other clubs. So
Right.
after you work, you stay 6 hours for dancing after a shift, and then you start a new shift,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
to Sisyphus or something.
Yes.
and and then I asked myself, so do I really need the audio engineering? And I decided, so no, I don't need it.
Mm.
My time in Berlin is great, and then I love to be in the clubs and get a lot of things I've learned. So, and it was really good. And also the style I produce now is it's a lot from these times in Berlin. So
Right.
the especially Club the Visionaries, Haupthause,
Mhm.
minimal deeper tech micro that was really influencing me a lot. And so I was not doing the studying as an audio engineer, but I
Yes.
was sitting at home and watching tutorials and master classes in masters. I spent really lots of time of reading and watching videos and master classes and hanging out with these DJs and producers and learning.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. And here you are, and then creating your music, and yeah, you've got releases. How many releases have you done recently? Or-
With my main artist, Electroblaze, I have now about 22 releases, I think.
Wow.
There's two more coming tomorrow, but when I say tomorrow, you still will hear it because we're
Yeah.
recording. Five, 6 more this year, and some remixes and collabs. And then I have also a kind of techno project called Crep DS, and I think about 7, 8 releases with
Mhm.
that one. And this is the Crep DS techno warehouse industrial kind of sound is coming from the Griessmühle I was working. So that's the other
Mm.
side of the thing, because it was really industrial and
Yeah.
warehouse and rough.
Wow.
And this
Love
is
it.
a side project to also to make these influences I had into music.
Yeah, yeah. I love
Super.
how like the path of your life, you went with what you felt was right in the moment and followed that, and how that's always like inspiring what you're creating now and influencing what you're creating now. And yeah, I think you have a what I find is you have a great way of flowing with life and taking it all in and
Yeah,
transferring
it's a
it.
good on point.
Yeah.
Good on point. So really, I'm also good balanced with everything.
Mhm.
So I found a good way, and for me to work a lot, and I call myself a workaholic, definitely. But I also take my time out, and I need and take my time for myself, and I'm really balanced out nowadays. And this is also what I found this year and last year. So when the music was getting better and the working as the bar getting less, and then stopped it. And yeah, I feel great with working a lot, but also take my freedom in the background here. I'm in nature and I
Mm.
love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And also, so what does creativity mean to you? And I guess thinking about how do you feel when you're creating, and how do you feel differently or not when you're not creating? So what's that element of creativity for you?
I miss it really hard after a while when I don't be creative and then I'm not producing. So it's really a part in my life that's really important, and I spend a lot of time in producing. And when I'm a week off, I really feel bad, and then I have this rotating in the mind again. So I need to go back to the productions, need to do some, create some, and sometimes it's then like this. So these is the times or dates also when I get things in my head and I walk around. I was in Ibiza. I was on a party and I was not producing. I was more hanging out. And I was not really into the party. I was outside with my mobile field recorder, and I had about 20 lyrics and things in my head. And I was just sitting there and recording things into my mobile to
Yeah.
use it then for new track ideas. And so after a while, I need it, and it overcomes me. And that's it. It's tip for me also. I think it's good to make a break. It's not easy to hang out for 2 weeks in a studio or creating and producing. I think it's really important that you need timeouts to get some new experience or go to nature, focus a bit, leave some projects on the side, let them rest, and then with a fresh mind and new inspiration, and going back to these projects then, or starting new projects after breaks is really important. So you can't push yourself to constant creativity.
Yes,
So then
yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
there's
that's
also
true.
ways to work around. So you should just not get depressive. So it's the music production is actually the creative part of music production. And when this is the production, the creative part is maybe like this.
Mhm.
But if you want to work some on the music, you can do the boring stuff
Mm.
without being creative. So working the arrangement or organizing folders, or you know how it is. So
Yeah.
it's not that big and much actually what we're doing. It's a lot of tweaking and fine tuning in the end where you don't need the creativity. So also then into a break, having a creative break while not producing new tracks or starting new tracks, you can also work on stuff.
Mm. Yeah, no, very true. So, like, what would be your greatest bit of advice for any aspiring artists, aspiring musicians, producers, DJs in their journey, imagining that maybe maybe they struggle, maybe they don't. I don't know. What would be your piece of advice, drawing from your experience?
Hmm. Don't give up after half year when you don't get famous.
Right.
Stick on it, focus, get your mind clear, get some clear goals. That was also very helpful for me. I'm a guy really setting up goals. The last 5 years, I was setting up goals for, okay, in 24, you want to play your debut out of Germany. In 25, I want to play my debut overseas, or some goals like this. And this is also very helpful if you set yourself clear goals, not dreaming,
Mm-hmm.
things you can reach and you can do. But this is very helpful,
Mm-hmm.
even if some of them are not happen. So the
Yeah.
most of the write down, and you tell yourself always, okay, I have to write some promoters because I want to play overseas. I have to
Yeah.
connect with people doing events and stuff. So then you can do it
Yeah.
quite easy if you have it in a schedule of next
Mm.
2 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And that brings me to wanting to ask as well, what was or is perhaps the greatest like self-doubt or limitation, if any, that you've experienced in your life, which you have worked a lot on overcoming or have overcome? What would that be for you on your creative journey?
I don't get it. Could you repeat?
Yeah, sure. If as artists, we also, we have our own limitations we put on ourselves, whether that's a self-doubt or an insecurity within our pursuit of our art and our journey. What is it for you in particular? What, if you have any that you can think of, like a self-imposed limitation or a self-doubt?
I don't really have. So I think I'm too positive in my thinking to think about limitations. Thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think you can reach and do anything
that's
if
great.
you really put the work and the effort in. So you really need to do it from the heart and with all the energy you have without collapsing on overworking or falling into depressions, and everything needs time. I'm very patient, so I never had this. I'm cruising for 2 years now, why I'm not successful, why I don't get big bookings. So for me, it was a natural way of growing like this and not like this.
Mm,
So I've lots of management skills actually I'm using.
mm,
So the goal setting thing is a
mhm.
typical management strategy. And if you open up a business, it's always better to grow fast or slow on a good way as a different side fast and then fall down. So this is
Right.
also.
Yeah. Yeah, some very healthy settings that you have there. So that's great. And I think like from looking at your journey and what you've shared, it does seem you've just went with what you felt and just gone with it. And yeah, it seems very healthy. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Did the listeners, what do they need to know? What else? What other projects or something that you're doing that you would like to share, or anything they should be aware of that you want to share?
So as a workaholic and traveling more and more actually, so it's not getting less. I'm working on lots of music, lots of remixes and collabs also with some big artists. And we found a company, a new brand in electronic music from people I met on Ibiza. And it's an international group of artists, DJs, producers spread it over the whole world. And we are doing kind of label. It's called Next Legends, NXT LGNDS. And we start doing our own parties in venues. We take over, for example, in Puerto Rico in November. We're playing
Wow.
2 gigs.
Hmm.
And we also start to teach and coach. So we play a gig in week 1, and on Wednesday in the middle of the week, we go to a music school in Puerto Rico and we teach production to newcomer and young people
Beautiful.
from Puerto Rico. And then playing another venue, our own party and venue,
Hmm.
um, a week later, and then going to New York and doing this and working on some things. We're doing organizing our own retreats also for producers. So we're about to look out, I think March 25, Portugal would be the first one. We're renting a villa
Hmm.
with 8 to 12 rooms. And for us as a group to get together, because we spread it all over the world, could find and we can meet and talk face to face. Not everyone is coming to all the gigs where we're planning and doing. And then also, but invite, if you have free rooms and things, invite people freely over our internet homepage and stuff to join us
Nice.
and produce, connect with us. So this is a really cool thing, and
Great.
it's a label. So we plan our first compilation. It's a label, it's an agency, it's an event agency, and also we combined that with coaching and giving the things we learned back to the people. And then another thing I'm into is in Vienna. I'm in Vienna right now here
Hmm.
in Wachau, and we're about to open a pop-up location in Vienna, the Funkhaus from ORF is the old main radio building that I don't use anymore. And it's going to an investor who's building luxury apartments in 2026. Uh, till then, we have time to throw our parties and venues, and we will combine this with art.
Amazing.
Art and music and lots of things in our head. And we're starting this soon. This is really exciting and a really nice project.
Amazing.
Yeah, touring
Yeah.
a bit. I will play on Vienna on our opening 11th of October. Yeah,
Okay. Is
in
there a link?
October. Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
not yet. I think that the first one would be quite private. The second one would be then the opening party with big announcements and almost.
All right.
Nuremberg before, 2 days before, on the 9th of October on a fair. It's quite good booking on a fair, and then making ready for Amsterdam ADE.
Right.
And still going to learn. I joined Robert Babic and Mark Romboy in Malta on their studio for a week to learn from
Wow.
these
How
guys.
cool.
So it's also now with all the skills I've learned and have, I'm not stopped learning. So I'm
No.
really getting new skills and getting better in what I do. And yeah, I will move to Vienna, to Austria, maybe in January from Germany. So another moving ahead. To keep care from January for a year then for this location.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty
Fantastic.
cool, exciting.
So many exciting things. So yeah, I encourage everyone to follow what your projects, how they're progressing, and to follow your journey. And I'll be following your journey as well. And it sounds really amazing, like all these things that you're doing. And I'll be curious to see when I talk to you next where you'll be then, or where you're off to, because you're always somewhere else when I speak to you. And it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you for sharing a bit more about
Thank you very
you,
much.
your creative process, your story, and yeah, everything you're creating. So that's really cool.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.